All right, here's a problem where we want to find the confidence interval for the population mean. But this is the scenario that I know the standard deviation of the population. And it says the following example. A random sample, 25 students, had a grade point average with a mean of 2.86. Past studies have shown that the standard deviation is 0.15 and the population is normally distributed. They ask you to construct a 90% confidence interval for the population mean grade point average. Like I mentioned in my lecture notes, what you're going to do is you're just going to follow the steps. Okay, let me show you the steps. You're going to follow these steps. And step number 1, they ask you to find the sample size and the sample mean. In other words, n and x bar. And that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so what is the sample size? How big was the sample that they used for this study? The n is 25. Also, they ask us to find the sample mean, x bar, and the sample mean is 2.86. And we did step number 1. Okay. Step number 2, they ask you to identify the standard deviation of the population. In other words, sigma. So when I go here and I read the problem, I find out that the standard deviation is 0.15. Okay, of the population. The standard deviation of the population is 0.15. So I know sigma. The next thing, or the next step that I have to do, okay, so I did step 1, step 2, they ask you something called critical value. The label they use is ZZ, okay? And how do we find that? We're going to use the normal distribution calculator, this calculator, okay? And basically what you're going to do is click on the drop-down menu, click on the last option you have here, and then in the red box, you want to put in the confidence level. Okay, so here they say construct a 90% confidence interval. So the 90% is a confidence level. So in the red box, put 0.90 and then hit enter. And in the blue box, you're gonna get the critical value. Okay, the ZC, what they call that here. Okay, let me see where I put the steps. Let me show you the steps. The ZC here will be that number in the blue box. Now I'm going to round to 3 decimal places. Okay, 1.645. So my critical value is going to be 1.645. That's how you find the critical value. All right, let's go do step number 4, because I already did the first 3 steps. I'm going to find something called the margin of error. How much more, how much less my guess could be. That's what the margin of error means. And we use the letter E. And here's the formula. Okay, and what do we do with formulas? We're going to plug in. So I'm going to plug in ZC, which is 1.645. I'm going to plug in sigma, which is 0.15. And I'm going to plug in n, which is 25. And when I work it out, see, I did the plug-in and the formula. When I work it out in my calculator, I get 0.05. So the margin of error is 0.05. And then the next thing I'm going to do in my last step now is to create the interval. I want to find the beginning and the end of my interval. How? The left end, we're going to take x bar, the 2.86, and I'm going to subtract the e, 0.05. And the right end, I'm going to take the x bar again, 2.86, and add the e, the 0.05. And that's what I'm going to show you right here. Okay, the E, 2.86, I'm going to add and subtract the 0.05. When I subtract 0.05, it's the left end. When I add the 0.05, it's the right end. And when I work it out, I get the following interval. Okay, and now I'm going to make an interpretation of this. What exactly this mean? So what this means is that with 90% confidence, we can say that the mean grade point average of all students in this population is in between these two numbers, 2.81 and 2.91. All right, I hope this helps.